T. Imagine you're walking past the same clothes shop every single day. And every single day there's a dog sitting right outside the door, not begging, not barking, just ... waiting for years. You think it's cute at first. Then you start wondering, what is that dog waiting for? And when you finally find out the truth, it changes everything you thought you knew about loyalty, love, and loss. Stay right here, because this story is going to hit you harder than you expect. Welcome back to Logic Unlocked, where we dig into the stories that make you stop and think. And if you're new here, do yourself a favor, hit that like button and subscribe right now. 'Cause we bring you content like this every single week, and you do not want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's go back to where this story begins. In a quiet little town in Turkey, on an ordinary street lined with small shops and local businesses, there was one particular storefront that had been closed for years. The shutters were always down. There, the sign above the door was faded. Nobody ever went in, nobody ever came out. But every morning, without fail, a dog would show up and sit right in front of that door. He would stay there for hours, sometimes all day. And then the next morning, he'd be back again. The neighbors noticed. Of course they did. In a small town, you notice everything. At first, people assumed the dog was a stray, just picking a random spot to rest. But strays move around. They search for food, they follow people, they chase things. This dog didn't do any of that. He came to this one specific door, and he sat there like he had an appointment. Like he was expecting someone to walk out at any moment. People started leaving food and water for him. He would eat, drink, and then go right back to sitting in front of that door. He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't destructive. He was faithful. Completely, absolutely faithful. And over time, he became a fixture of the neighborhood. Kids would pet him on the way to school. Old men sitting outside the tea house down the street would nod at him like an old friend. Everyone knew the dog. But nobody fully understood why he kept coming back to that exact spot, day after day, year after year. Then someone finally started asking questions. A local journalist heard about the dog and got curious. She'd started talking to the shop owners nearby, the older residents who had been on that street for decades. And slowly, piece by piece, the truth came out. That closed shop had once belonged to a man. A kind man. By all accounts, someone who opened his store every day for years. Who knew all his customers by name, who always had a warm word for anyone who passed by. And this dog had been his companion. The two of them had a routine. The man would open his shop in the morning, the dog would come and sit outside, and they would spend the day together in that easy, comfortable way that only a person and their dog can. Then the man died. And the dog just never got the memo. Or maybe, and this is the part that stays with you, maybe he did get the memo, somewhere deep in that loyal heart of his, and he just refused to accept it. B. Because what else explains it? He wasn't confused. Dogs aren't that confused for that long. He came back because that door meant something to him. That spot on the sidewalk meant something to him. The man who used to open that door every morning meant everything to him. This story spread across Turkey and then across the world, and people reacted in a very particular way. They didn't just say, "Ah, that's sad." They felt something deeper. Because we all recognize something in that dog. We've all had something in our lives, a person, a place, a feeling that we kept going back to even after we knew, on some level, that it was gone. We've all stood in front of a closed door at some point, waiting for something that wasn't coming back. The dog just did it without embarrassment, without pretending, without moving on before he was ready. There's something almost noble about that. Animal behaviorists will tell you that dogs experience grief in real, measurable ways. Their cortisol levels rise. They lose appetite. They search for their lost person. V. They return to familiar places associated with that person because they're scent. The visual memory, the entire emotional landscape of that place, is linked to someone they loved. This dog wasn't doing something mysterious or supernatural. He was doing something deeply natural. He was mourning. Fuse. Hoping. Use. Being loyal in the most pure and simple way possible. He just kept showing up. Now, here's what makes this story even more powerful. The people in that neighborhood eventually came together and made a decision. They weren't going to shoo the dog away. They weren't going to relocate him or send him to a shelter. Instead, they made sure he was cared for right there, in the spot he had chosen. They fed him. They checked on him. Some people even started sitting with him for a while during the day, just to keep him company. The whole street kind of adopted him. And in a strange way, that dog became a living memorial to the man who had once run that little shop. As long as the dog sat there, the man wasn't entirely forgotten. And that's the part that really gets you, isn't it? Because we build memorials out of stone and metal, and we carve names into walls, and we put flowers on graves. This dog built a memorial out of pure, unshakable presence. He showed up every day with nothing to gain and everything to feel. He didn't need anyone to explain loyalty to him. He just lived it. Every single day. 4 years. There's a lesson in there for all of us. And Logic Unlocked is all about finding those lessons in the places you least expect them. The lesson isn't just about animals or grief. It's about what it means to truly show up for someone. Use. In a world where people ghost each other over text messages, where relationships are disposable and attention spans are measured in seconds, this dog sat outside a closed door for years waiting for someone who was never coming back. Not because he was stuck, but because some bonds don't end just because one side of the story does. The shop stayed closed. The street changed around it over time. New businesses opened, old ones moved. But that dog kept his post. Ahmed. Every person who walked past him and understood why he was there walked away a little different. A little quieter. A little more thoughtful about the people in their own lives. The doors they've walked through and never come back to. The loyalty they've given and the loyalty they've perhaps taken for granted. So next time you see something and you think, that's just an animal doing an animal thing, look a little closer. Because sometimes the most profound truths in this world aren't written in books or delivered in speeches. Sometimes they're sitting on a sidewalk outside a closed door, waiting patiently, with no agenda other than love. That's the story of the dog who waited. And I think it's one of those stories that you're going to think about again tonight, when it gets quiet. Or maybe when you're driving somewhere tomorrow and this comes back to you. That's what Logic Unlocked is about. Stories that stick. Now, I want to hear from you. Delay. Drop a comment below. Tell me, does this story hit you the way it hit me? And share this video with someone who loves dogs. Or honestly, with anyone who you think needs a reminder today about what real loyalty looks like. Share it right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it might just be the thing someone needed to see today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.